We're recording, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of the Essex County Council Place Services and Economic Growth Policy and Scrutiny Committee meeting of the 19th of January. We are in this section having got to item We okay? Okay, so welcome to part 2 of the Place Services and Economic Growth Policy and Scrutiny Committee meeting of the 19th of January. We have previously completed all the declarations and all the other parts in part 1, and we have got to item 8, which was the last item on the agenda. We now move into this second afternoon session, and we are with item number 9. There are some just quick points. The procedure for this item number 9 is around a call-in, and the first speaker will be Councillor Newport, who is the member that has called the decision in. The second body of speakers is witnesses as called by Councillor Newport, and we have 2 of those. Then the next speaker will be Councillor Scott, who is the Essex County Council decision maker. The next section of people will be the witnesses called by Councillor Scott, and these are likely to be the officers who will provide technical advice and support. And then the next body of people to speak are members of the committee, including both Twin Hatters and sole Essex County Council members, contributing as specific committee members. And then there is to be a vote. Before we start off with the call-in, I've been asked to just remind people about the circulated advice for twin-hatted members when considering the call-in. And I just wanted, it's all been circulated, so I just want to remind people, it's headed role at the meeting, you've all seen this. As a member of the Place Services and Economic Growth Policy and Scrutiny Committee, your role is to scrutinise the Cabinet member's decision in your capacity as a member of Essex County Council. This primarily takes the form of acting as a critical friend in assessing the reasoning behind the decision and whether or not it is therefore reasonable. Particular impacts on your own district or borough authority should not form any part of the considerations. You need to be sure that you are acting in the interest of Essex County Council as you see it. That doesn't mean that you have to support the Cabinet member, but it does mean you cannot be swayed by your district role. Those for which that item reflects and applies have already made declarations in the first part of the meeting. So I will now hand over to Emma, who will explain the procedure around the rest of the meeting, or this item.
Thank you, Chairman. So to provide a bit of background for members, on the 4th of January, the proposed Cabinet member decision, removal of highways, rangers service and funding for districts, was called in by Councillor Newport. In line with the procedure for handling the call-in of a decision, an informal meeting was then held on the 9th of January. A note of that informal meeting is on page 60 of your agenda. At the conclusion of that meeting, Councillor Newport confirmed that he would like to proceed with the call-in process and progress the matter to a meeting of this committee. As the Chairman's advised, in accordance with the call-in procedure, we will firstly hear from Councillor Newport, and he will be given the opportunity to explain why he's called in the decision. Then we will hear from his 2 witnesses. Ms. Penny Hefferon will be joining via Zoom, and Councillor Hoy. Then Councillor Scott will have the opportunity to reply to the points raised and explain how and why the proposed decision has been put forward. Then the committee will have the opportunity to ask questions. Following the discussions, the committee must come to an agreement to take one of the following three options. 1, allow the proposed decision to be implemented without further delay. 2, refer the proposed decision back to the decision taker, setting out in writing the committee's concerns. 3, refer the matter to full council, along with a record of the committee's concerns. A proposer, a seconder, and a vote will be required to pass a resolution. As a reminder, several councillors have declared a disclosable pecuniary interest in this item, for which a dispensation has been granted, and these will be recorded in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from anybody at this stage to where we are now? Okay, no. In which case, I now ask Councillor James Newport to take the opportunity to make the case for calling in the decision. He's already formally completed the decision request call in, and he advised that he was going to call in based around 1, no consultation with district parish councils, 2, potential reputation damage, 3, safety aspects, and 4, lack of mitigation / alternative plans. So, Councillor Newport, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I've called this Cabinet member decision in fundamentally on I don't believe that the business case stands up to scrutiny very well and is fundamentally flawed. In the report, you'll see the activity suitable for Ranger services refers to 8 items, when in fact, if you reference the LHP members guide, you will actually see there are 11 tasks which are referred to in that guide, not just the 8. So that's the first inconsistency in the report. I think the ones that are missing are resetting slabs, cleaning footway drainage channels, cleaning footway gully pots, and there's another one, sorry, I can't cross-reference that at the moment. So that I raised it on, as the chairman's already said, on safety aspects, no consultation with district and parish councils, lack of mitigation and alternative plans, and potential reputational damage to the council. In terms of the safety aspects, the majority of the works carried out, from my understanding, aren't actually for cosmetic reasons. It's so much of the works that have been logged by some of the councils are grass trimming, which enables pedestrians to walk round, along footpaths without stepping into the carriageway. I noted from the ECIA that they said there was no impact on people with physical impairment, which I do not believe to be the case. And I think that if you have a disability, such as visual impairment, that it will actually impact you. But it also doesn't stand up to the decision doesn't stand up to the promotion of sustainable transport, where we're trying to encourage our residents to walk and use the footpaths. We've already noted this morning that there are a number of already a number of issues with footpaths which haven't been resolved, and this would just add to that. Going on to my next point about the lack of consultation with district councils, and I have put parish councils. In the report, there isn't any analysis of how many councils that have been approached have agreed to take on the service and whether, in fact, they will do so. So I actually find that omission very poor in the decision making, that we haven't seen that information. There's also a lack of mitigation on alternative plans. Who will do the work if the highways ranger service is discontinued or not funded? Councillor Scott has said that if it's a safety issue, the work will be done, but who will do that as additional resource will be needed? He also, in our informal meeting, said that enforcement is possible because the rangers may be cutting back vegetation. That is the landowner's responsibility. But my question would be, with enforcement, the costs will be high, and I think we all know that enforcement takes a very long time just to even identify landowners. And I think this is a false economy. Potential reputational damage. The number of complaints received from not doing much of this works, I believe, will be high. And I also think that the complaints, we should not try to attract complaints. We should be trying to improve the service that we give to our residents. One of the major issues I have is that the business case doesn't provide any statistics or any other types of works that the rangers have already completed. And I think that even with the PowerPoint presentation that was supplementary provided to us, I think you'll see that there's a lot of data missing, and clearly the service has been mismanaged. And I think that this decision should be referred back to the cabinet member, and they should provide a full business case back to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Is everybody clear about what they've understood so far? Thank you. I'd now like to welcome, I do apologise, I've been advised that I can call you Penny Heffron, who is joining us remotely to provide evidence to the committee. According to the call-in procedure, witnesses have 3 minutes to speak. However, please feel free to make as many points as you feel are appropriate. I will hand over to Councillor Newport to introduce Penny and perhaps a bit of background about who she may be and etc.
Good afternoon, Penny. Yep, Penny is a resident who lives in my division, and I know Penny through working with Penny on a campaign for Guide Dogs UK. So I raised this decision with Penny to ask Penny if she will tell us how this would adversely affect her quality of life when she's moving around the county.
Welcome, Penny. Please feel free to speak. With everybody's agreement, what I'll do is, apologies, but we'll shuffle the witnesses. Is that okay? Okay, so I'd now like to welcome the cabinet member. I'd now like to welcome Councillor Hoy, who's going to provide evidence to the committee. According to the call-in procedure, again, you have 3 minutes. Please do feel free to make your points in that period of time. And did you want to introduce Councillor or not? If he obviously feels sufficiently confident that you're well known enough.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Councillor Newport asked me to be a witness based on my experiences, not personally, but from areas in my division where I know people have had problems where vegetation particularly isn't cut back. There are a number of narrow pathways linking various areas. There's particular problems in Hockley, which is part of my division, where if the if the vegetation is not cut back, people on mobility scooters or in wheelchairs will have to go into the road. There's no alternative. So I'm aware that the word dangerous has been used in response to what would be done, but this in itself, the vegetation isn't necessarily dangerous. It's what happens to people when it blocks their path and they can't get anywhere. And it's not a question that they're able to cross the road because there is just one pavement, one side of the road, and that's it. In another part of my division, there's between Holbridge and Rayleigh, there is one footway, a pavement, which notoriously gets overgrown in the spring, and by the end of the summer, it's also overgrown. Without cutting back, people have to walk in the road. The road is a 40-mile-an-hour limit PR2 road. I'm aware there's a thing about highway rangers don't do it if it's autobahn in it, but they've assessed it as safe to do in the way that they can do it. This is the only route for young people to the schools, which both of those points then bring me on to the equality assessment, because there's no mention at all of these problems in the equality assessment. It's got age, nature of impact, none. Well, there will be impact because if they can't walk to school, how do they get to school? And this goes back to sustainability. They'll be driven there. They're not entitled to free buses because of the changes a few years ago in funding for buses. I'm used to the timer up there. The other issues are perhaps seem less dangerous, but if hedges aren't cut back, and there are rural roads in my division, many of them, if the hedges aren't cut back, drivers tend to steer more towards the middle of the road. And that's a clear impact. So is that dangerous as well or not? I don't know. This is one of the problems I've got with this as well, speaking to residents that they don't know what dangerous means. So it's really the concerns around how the equality assessment has been done. Clearly, if you're disabled, you have problems. If you're using mobility scooters, you've got problems. If you're a young person, you've got problems. If you're any person at all walking from Holbridge to Rayleigh, you will have problems. You've got to walk in a 40-mile-an-hour limit road, which is a PR2, very, very busy at times. So that is really my statement as a witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you happy with that? You finished? Thank you. Everybody understood the comments? And how are we with Penny? Oh, Penny. Okay. Well, Penny, we're almost like old friends at the moment. I do apologise for using your first name without fully knowing you. Penny, you've been introduced by the councillor. Please feel free to use the next 3 minutes to make your case. Thank you.
Hello. I'm presuming you can hear me okay?
The answer is yes.
Good. Thank you. Hi. I am vision impaired. I have very little vision and I'm a guide dog owner. So I'd like to put you into a slightly different situation, if I may, and ask everybody to just close their eyes for a minute. Having got your eyes closed, I'd like you to imagine were you to walk down a street that you know where there are hedges, trees, vegetation. Apologies for my voice, I've got a cold. Currently, you might be able to walk down there very well. Just imagine if all that vegetation became overgrown. What would be the impact? You're walking safely on the pavement, but what about things at face level, at eye height? A lot of people with vision impairment still have a little vision, but they may only have peripheral or central, so they won't see things that are around. So if you're walking down, what will happen? You will find that you scratch your face. You will find that you may actually poke your eyes out on trees, or even worse than that, because you're trying to avoid the fear of the pavement. Now, this has happened to me. I have ended up at my destination with blood on my face. One of my eyes, fortunately, doesn't get damaged, but the other one, a little bit of sight that I have, has been damaged before. But more worrying than all of that is that I've actually fallen off the curb, landed in the road, and you can imagine, I'm sure, A, how frightening that is, but B, how dangerous that is. Obviously, it's something that really shouldn't be allowed to happen, but it does happen. It's happening now. And I'm very concerned that if you remove responsibility from yourselves for making sure that vegetation is kept into where it should be, somebody like myself, there are things, is me, I could change my route. I have a situation at the moment where I've done that. The impact of changing a route, though, is that I may find myself in a worse situation. I may actually be doing a route where the pavements are worse. Or in one situation, I may have to cross roads that are far less safe, ending up a potential risk of injury. So it's not just a case of not being able to go somewhere, but the impact might mean I change a habit. Of course, the other thing it might mean is that I'm too afraid to go out, and I may appear to be confident. And I've had a lot of training. I can use a long cane. I have my amazing guide dog who gives me lots of confidence. But if I'm afraid and I don't feel able to do that walk, I will stop going out. Or if it's not me, it could be someone else who says, I'm not going to do the walk today. I'm going to ask someone to drive me. What does that do for the environment? Doesn't help. I want to be out and about, getting exercise, getting fresh air. I want other people with disabilities to be able to use our paths and pavements. I want mums with pushchairs to be able to walk. And most importantly, I want to remind you that disability and sight loss is not just something that happens to people we don't know. It happens to our friends and our family and our children and our parents. So a situation may not affect you today, but it could affect you tomorrow. So I would really, really ask, please, please keep our pavements safe and enable someone like myself to keep walking. And I'm so sorry about the voice.
Penny, have you concluded?
I have.
Penny, thank you very much for your very personal and very good insight into your issue and the reason for your comments. Now, the Cabinet Member, Councillor Lee Scott, will be given the opportunity to answer the cases made and to seek to justify the decision taken. Alongside Councillor Scott is Peter Massey, the Head of Essex Highways Commissioning, and Karina Grimwade, who is the Senior Strategy Advisor. Councillor Scott, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. And if I can thank Penny for her comments and also wish your goal better, and thank Michael Hoy as well. Councillor Newport, I'm going to go through each of the points. The first point was no consultation with district or parish councils. Even though this is a discretionary service, which we did not need to consult on, all out of courtesy, all districts were contacted by both officer and member level prior to the information being published. So there was sensitivity around the operatives who are currently in these roles. They had conversations with their employers, the districts ahead of the removal of funding being made public. That was on the 17th and 18th of November, and then again on the 22nd of November. Leaders of all districts were informed by email on the 18th of November by myself, and we also an agenda item on the Essex Leaders Chief Executive meeting on December the 8th. So although it was a discretionary service, there was the information and consultation said to them. On top of this, you mentioned about potential reputation damage. I sincerely hope and believe that the works which we've heard from Penny that she is concerned about do count, as we did from Michael, as some of those aspects of being dangerous and would be picked up by Essex County Council. We also, bearing in mind that you mentioned that these services you didn't think they were run adequately, but we had actually, it was the districts running these services. Although there is the criteria that you mentioned of what needs to be done, it differed greatly in each single district. In one district, for instance, I am told that there were certain aspects done which shouldn't have been done, because some of the trimming back of hedges on private land should not have been done by the rangers. It is an enforcement issue. The landowners could have taken that further should they wish to. Safety aspects I'm going to let Peter go into, but this whole decision I want to put to you is, of course, about budgets. The £866,000 that this was costing us, we simply don't have the money. Quite rightly, our priority has to be adult and children's social services, which take up a vast percentage of our monies. And I think everyone would agree that needs to be the case. So therefore, that is where monies are spent. In some of you, you asked the question about what districts are taking it on. Well, I'm sure you know and I know that in Rochford, and Penny may not know this, but it is being carried on certainly for the next year. They are funding it, so it will carry on, as it is in Epping Forest. But it is up to each individual district whether they wish to carry it on or not. So there isn't a case here of we're doing this for no good reason. We're doing it because we need to protect the services, and anything that's dangerous that has been mentioned, as Penny has, would either be taken up by Essex County Council, or if it's a landowner, we would use our enforcement powers with our enhanced enforcement team to make sure that work is done. So, Chairman, I would ask committee to back the recommendations that have been put forward. I will now pass over to Peter, if I may, on other aspects. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. So I just want to point members out to the Highway Rangers guide. So these are on our website, which lists the works that can be undertaken. There are specific references on there about the things that the Rangers can't do. So things like not working on roads that have speed limits over 30 miles an hour. So we'd expect these works to be in urban areas. Things like hedges, so private hedges, again, it should only be work on the public highway. So typically the county council doesn't own hedges, they're private hedges, and therefore they should be referred to the landowner to deal with. Those are specific aspects that are brought out as part of that. Obviously, these are guides to the districts. It's not always possible. It's not been possible for me to pull out what the districts do, so I couldn't be fully definitive on that. The list that has been provided, Chairman and panel, is what I obtained from the service here in Essex Highways. Some districts do share data back with us, and we've captured that on here. Some districts don't. So where it says no data, that's because districts haven't passed data back to us as an authority. So this is to give you an idea of the numbers of things that the Rangers do undertake. This is specifically relating to 22-23 as in the current financial year. Thank you.
Is that the end of the answer for from your team, or is your deputy wishing to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Regarding this, on the 28th of the 7th, SEP, South Essex Parking Partnership, agreed that 7 divisions would get £186,000. On the 12th of the 9th, our Rochford District Councillor David Sperring advised all councillors of this fact. On the 13th of the 10th, Councillor David Sperring put together proposals and included one from Councillor Newport. On the 15th of the 12th, the SEP met again, and it was agreed that Rochford, with their proposals, would get £160,000 out of the 186 with the proposals we'd done. This was a contribution to annually finance support for the highway rangers of £70,000. Rochford District Council on the Tuesday January the 10th at 10:15, put out a news release for all councillors and residents stating council secures funding to improve highway network. Rochford District Council has secured £186,000 through the SEP partnership to improve our district highways network. The funding will enable our highways rangers teams to increase their productivity and efficiency through the purchase of new and improved equipment, including our own traffic light system, enabling the council to undertake.
Chairman,
Sorry, someone stopped me up.
Sorry, you wish to raise a point of order?
sorry, Chairman. Yeah, the advice given to us by Joanna Bowler was that we should not make our presentations to our district councils, and it should be about Essex as the Essex County as a whole. And I believe what we're hearing from Councillor Shaw is actually about the Rochford district, and I think that's contrary to the advice we were given. And I'd like clarification from Joanna Bowler on that, please.
Chairman, if I may, so the discussions in terms of today need to be around the role of impact on Essex County Council, and for any members speaking from the committee, it needs to be regarding the impact on Essex County Council, not on the districts. I'm not quite sure how much Councillor Shaw has got to say, but that's the line that we need to take.
That seems fairly clear, except, of course, Councillor Shaw is not a member of the committee.
Can I just finish, Chair?
So the point I was making is effectively she's a witness, isn't she?
Yes, Chairman, she is a witness to the committee, and if she is speaking, I don't know if she's currently speaking with her Rochford or her Essex. So if she's speaking as Deputy Cabinet Member, that's what she needs to be speaking, and she can't be speaking as a Rochford District Council member.
I can understand that. So can I ask you to tell me where this is going in terms of how it will affect Essex, perhaps?
Of course, Chairman, I'm not talking as Deputy Cabinet Member for Highways. I'm talking about Rochford, as the two previous witnesses have said how it would affect them if the funding was withdrawn. I'm just pointing out that the funding for Rochford will not be, will still be there up until 2024. Thank you.
Okay. You were called in on a point of order. Have you finished your presentation?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we've now heard from the Councillor Newport, we've heard from Penny, we've heard from Councillor Hoy, we've heard from Councillor Scott and his team. Now the committee has the opportunity to ask any questions. Can you raise your hand if you wish to ask questions? I'll do my best. Councillor Scordis. Councillor Steele. Councillor Blackwell. Thank you. Councillor Fleming. Right, and others, I will take others. Okay. So Councillor Scordis.
Thank you, Chair, and quite an interesting debate. And I have to agree with a lot of the concerns that Councillor Newport has raised. I think this is a really good item to get our teeth into. As I understand it, highway rangers, especially in our area, they seem to, first of all, they don't go out alone, they work in pairs. But a lot of the work they do does have its own administration. So, for example, when they need to cut back an overgrown hedge or some weeds that are obscuring a sign, they'll, for example, need to apply for the road to be closed or for traffic lights, so forth, to be safe. So this is going to be another burden on our staff that we're told are going to deal with these issues. So I'd be interested to know, have we got the capacity for our staff to deal with that? And are they going to be running around like headless chickens doing the work that could be done? It just seems to me that reform seems the issue that needs to happen here. There are weaknesses to the Highways Rangers service, but there's a lot of strengths as well. And I'm just worried we are trimming the fat rather than looking at actually how could we make this service much more efficient. But I'll be interested to see on the admin side, have we got the capacity to deal with this, or is this going to build up? And how also are we going to pass those skills on that our highway rangers have? Are we keeping some on to pass those skills? Is there going to be a handover period, so forth?
Councillor Scott.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think Peter wishes to answer that one.
Could I just ask a clarification? Is the question around the Essex Highways staff reference?
Yes, because if we're going to be doing these tasks that we don't have highway rangers, it'd be Essex County staff doing them if the borough district has not kept them on.
So the Rangers service will cease. So if it's dangerous, yes, it will be dealt with, because that's part of the process for anything that's defective to be reported through the system, to be assessed, to have a score. But if it's not, so it's not that the whole of the Essex Highways are going to take on all the Rangers. So the decision paper, Chairman and Councillor, I think is clear that it's ceasing the service.
The answer to the question, Councillor Scotus, is the dangerous aspect, and what we've heard would qualify as being dangerous, so it would be dealt with. The stuff which is cosmetic would not necessarily be dealt with unless the individual districts wish to do so.
Sorry, Chair, I don't know if either have answered my question. My main concern is there's a lot of admin work that our rangers are doing for this work. Are our staff who are going to have to take on these dangerous tasks, do they have enough space to do these tasks, or is their workload too heavy already? And will there be a handover period from some of the skills that our rangers do have, local knowledge, so forth?
Okay, thank you. I would propose that most of the works that have been undertaken aren't dangerous. So therefore, the ones that would come into the system would be assessed as part of that. As opposed to, I think the sort of assumption of the question, forgive me, is that all of them on the list are sort of dangerous issues. And therefore the implication on staffing is not the same.
Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you, Chairman. I thought it was Chairman, can I just ask, if the decision goes ahead and the funding is withdrawn from the Highways Rangers, can we have two insurances really? One, I understand majority of works done by them is clearing and keeping our footpaths clear so people can actually walk along them. And I understand the fact that one, if the trees or the shrubs overgrowing the footpath are on Essex County land, we will be responsible for actually clearing them footpaths and will take quite quick action for our maintenance program. But two, which I understand probably the majority are on private owned land, that we, if reported, that we take action to inform the landowner that it's his responsibility to cut back that footpath. If they don't, that we can take action to make sure they cut it back. If they don't, we do it and recharge them. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The answer to both questions was yes.
Councillor Steele.
Thank you. I actually have a similar question, but first of all, can I just point out to Peter that it's not correct that highway rangers can't work outside 30 miles an hour. They can work above 30 miles an hour. If you read the guidance, it actually says providing a safety review is done. Okay, that's what the guidance actually says. It doesn't bar them. It just has to say a safety review is done. I've been looking at some of the jobs rangers are doing, and it does seem a lot of them are to do with clearing overhanging branches and hedges, and a lot of them seem to be from private land, which again, if you read the guidance, highway rangers are not supposed to be doing. But I seek a similar reassurance to Councillor Blackwell. If this service ceases to be funded, can the Cabinet member assure us that essential works of things like overhanging on pavements to the Penny, the witness here, obviously, it's clearly what she considered dangerous, perhaps a little bit to what the other people consider dangerous. Can I seek the reassurance that that work will be addressed either through us doing it, if it's on county council land, the plant, or if it's on private land, that the enforcement team will act in a reasonably speedy manner to get those what people might consider to be dangerous, but we might consider essential work done to keep the footpaths clear.
Yeah, without any question, if it's dangerous, as we've said, the answer is yes, and likewise from enforcement. So yes, in as speedy a way as the courts might allow if it gets to that stage, but yes.
Councillor Vance.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, Chairman, when I was elected as a county councillor, on my literature, I put on there, I would do, of course, like all the rest of us, the best for our residents. So the Highways Rangers provided for us a excellent frontline service, but I was also elected to support strategic decisions that is in the best interest for all residents in Essex. In my local area, as the councillor knows, because as Councillor Scott knows, it's the same division, same district, that we already have highways rangers who do an excellent job. So I am a little bit disappointed to hear that we are going to lose a frontline service generally. However, as I said at the beginning, I do understand the strategic decisions that have to be made and recognise the budget constraints that's in place. All I wanted to do today was just make the statement that, yes, I'm terribly sorry that we're having to take this decision, but at the end of the day, we have to make strategic decisions, and my decision today will be to support the removal of this this service, albeit very disappointing. Thank you.
Anybody else indicating their wishes to speak? Councillor Fleming.
Peter Massey. I remember, it must be about 18 months ago. I know that all the parish clerks were written to, and there was a scheme where they could receive a little bit of money for doing small jobs. I just was quite interested in the context of this general discussion, what the take up was for that. And then just a sort of observation, I know in the Malden district, my sort of takeaway from the Highways Rangers is it's sort of inconsistent. So a lot of my villages, they have quite busy roads through them, so the Highways Rangers couldn't work there. There was, nothing that could be done. They just couldn't use the service. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Massey.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll answer that one, Councillor Fleming. We have obviously way in excess of 300 different parishes, town councils in Essex. The scheme you're referring to, you're perfectly right. We wrote to everyone saying we will give money per head to do some of the works that we're talking about today. Between 12 and 20 wanted to take it up. The other 280 plus did not take it up.
Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. And in Epping Forest, as has been mentioned on a number of occasions today, we do have a good Highways Ranger service, and I know we've worked well in partnership with the county council, and I think continued conversations around how we can devolve some of these smaller powers moving forward is a positive thing. And my question is a rather simple one, but on some of the more cosmetic work that the Highways Rangers do. I know in Epping Forest we're very keen on our finger posts, and we've done a number of different projects putting finger posts around the district as a key part of our heritage. My question is whether individual county councillors can actually use their locality fund to support smaller projects such as painting benches or kind of heritage signs. Thank you.
Can we take that as a generic question rather than specifically about your district? So I think far ahead.
Whilst I was referring to my district, I think I was talking about the importance of devolution across the county and how we have some successful highways rangers operating throughout the county. Epping Forest just being an example, but a general question in terms of the locality fund. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, Councillor Whitbread, the locality funds can be used by individual divisional councillors for such things as you've mentioned, should they wish to do so. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Councillor at the end there.
How long have I been here? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me the opportunity to address your committee. I'm sure Councillor Scott would agree that Essex County Council is the Highways Authority, statutory Highways Authority, and therefore has a statutory requirement to ensure that highways, which includes footpaths or footways, are clear for pedestrians and vehicles as appropriate. So would he not agree with me that this decision is effectively offloading those responsibilities onto the districts, and therefore the financial responsibility implications of that, when we're hearing, when we've heard just now, that all authorities are facing precisely the same budget constraints as Essex County Council is. So I'd be interested in how you think he can square that, the abrogation of your responsibilities onto the districts. And if I may, I'd just make the comment that I think there's a world of difference between being informed about a proposal and meaningful consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCrory.
Councillor McCrory, we will always carry out our statutory responsibilities. We would never not do that. We're proud of what we do. In answer, this was discretionary. It wasn't that. So no, I can't agree with that comment. As for the consultation, we wrote, and as you say, there's a difference between advising, but it was discretionary. And out of interest, I had very few people contact me back from either the officer or the member on this. And it first occurred and appeared, I think it was in last year's budget, not the coming budget. So it was there, but it was discretionary, not strategy. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm now a visiting councillor, not a witness. With regard to dangerous work, if a district council retains their rangers and the work is regarded as like it needs to be done because it's dangerous, resolving a dangerous situation, would Essex be asking the local district council rangers team to do it? Would they be doing it themselves? And if the rangers team is asked to do it, will that local rangers team be able to recharge it to Essex?
Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. The answer is I would not only believe but think it would be Essex carrying that out. The rangers' responsibilities, if they're being retained by the districts, would be a matter for the districts, not us. We wouldn't have an involvement in that.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Councillor Scott, it's just occurred to me, obviously, there are opportunities within districts to be able to fulfill some of this role. Is there any opportunity to devolve some of the responsibility down to parish councils? Because some of them are quite rich and do have some monies. I know the issues of safety will obviously come up, but is there any opportunity for parish council, the development to parish councils?
So thank you, Chairman. So the Highway Authority retains the responsibility. I don't think it can easily devolve that to a third party. So whilst it might include, so through the devolution and the pilot initiative Councillor Fleming was asking about earlier, the county can invite those parishes to work alongside it, but as part of the devolution pilot, for example, we weren't devolving responsibilities and accountability, but we were inviting them to work with us. We retained that accountability ourselves.
So for clarity there, what you're saying is that if a parish council can find some funding, it can approach the highways department and say, we're prepared to fund something to get my.
Sorry, apologies, I pressed my button too early. Yes, that's great. I think there are instances at the moment where parishes do approach us and we'll undertake works on their behalf.
So is it fair to comment that some of that action is already going on at the moment, even under the situation where there are highway rangers and perhaps where the highway rangers are not allowed by default or to act?
Yes, it is, but Chairman, it's typically scheme-based work because obviously whilst the rangers are doing their work, that would ordinarily be referred to them. So at the moment, it would be separate types of work that we do, but the principle for them to be able to do it is present.
So is everybody who has a wish to debate finished? I'm taking a lack of hands as that. So thank you to the members of the committee and the witnesses and the cabinet members for their contributions. As expected, it's a interesting debate, and clearly there are a range of views within the room. As Emma has previously advised, there are three options available to the committee. We do need to reach an agreement of some sort. It's a call-in, there has to be an action. So as a reminder, the options are: number one, allow the proposed decision to be implemented without delay. Number two, refer the proposed decision back to the decision taker, setting out in writing our concerns. Or three, refer the matter to the full council along with a record of our concerns. I'm pleased to say we had a very, very, very useful pre-meet for this, and there are all sorts of issues about the first proposition to come forward being the substantive motion. And I'm really not comfortable with just looking around the room and trying to get my eye caught by one person or another in advance of anybody else, because I think that's slightly unfair. So what I'm going to do, and I've taken advice on this, I think I'd like to have a feeling of what's going on in the room. Quite clearly, there are two sides. I think it's pretty straightforward to say that there's either a refer side or there's an accept side, and the refer side has two options. So I want to be absolutely clear that this is not a binding resolution of any sort, but to get a sense of where we are following discussions, I will ask voting members, to indicate at the moment whether they're mindful to vote for one or the other. So you'll both get the opportunity to show. So can I have an indication of those that would be voting for the proposed decision to be implemented without delay? Can I have an indication of those that would be voting for the opposite, which is to refer back. Right. Quite clearly, the feeling was in the room is that there is one motion, there's one possible motion which is likely to be successful. So can I ask for a proposal? Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm happy to propose number one, to allow the proposed decision to be implemented without delay. And I just want to say it was a really good debate and today, and also really good to hear some clarity around the issues.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Vance has seconded that. Thank you. Please fire ahead.
Can a deputy cabinet member propose such a motion? Is that in order?
I think the answer's as a member of the.
Clarity from Democratic Services, but I am not deputy to Councillor Scott, and I'm also a member of this committee.
I think that is the position, but if there was anybody else who would like to propose, or if there's anybody else in the room who wishes to propose, given Councillor Whitbread's position here and at the District Council.
Chairman, if there's any clarity needed, I'm happy to propose if Councillor Whitbread is not allowed to.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Fleming, are you comfortable with that, Councillor Whitbread?
That's fine. Thank you, Chairman.
I think that's what I call fair. Thank you. So we have a proposal that's proposed and seconded. Is there any alternative? Right, can I ask for a show of hands for those in favour? And can I have a show of hands for those against voting members? The motion is carried.
It isn't a named vote, but any member can ask for their name to be recorded in the same way as full council against a particular decision. Can I just check, Chairman, that there wasn't there wasn't a second vote required? Because Councillor Scordis put his hand up, I wasn't sure.
I mean, we have the alternative, people can vote for referring it, but it's fine. It was going to go through. My name's in the minutes as being against.
I think the opportunity was there to have a counter proposal.
I did raise my hand, you just missed it, but it's not the end of the world, Chair. I'll survive.
Thank you. So the committee has passed a resolution to implement the decision without delay. The next item on the agenda is future meeting dates, which is item 10, which is pages 65, which is to note the future meeting dates of the committee. Once these dates have been confirmed, they will be published on the council's website and the calendar invitations sent to and circulated to members of the committee. Item 10 is date of the next meeting, which is to note that the next meeting of the committee is scheduled to take place on Thursday, 16th of February, 2023 at County Hall. Can I thank everybody for their contribution? It hasn't been an easy meeting, moving from one room to another. My big thanks to, as always, to the staff, and special thanks to the IT department, who appear to have pulled a miracle out of a hat. So as I'm aware, there are no other items of urgent business, so I close the meeting. Thank you all.